Good lighting can really help elevate and enhance your video production, and that's whether you're shooting on an iPhone or a much more expensive type of camera. So along with having really good audio, great lighting will take your video footage all the way to that next level. And this video I made specifically for one of my video clients who happens to own a pharmacy, and he needed a couple tips on how to get his lighting set up for his internal studio. My name is Aaron and I've been involved in digital marketing for well over 13 years, everything from WordPress web design to video production and everywhere in between. Let me know if this video works well for you, if you learn anything from it, and if you'd like to maybe hear more. Okay, so this is technically a zero light setup. I do have some ambient light coming in from the window right here with the curtain, so it is diffused. It's a little bit softer, and that's what what you see right here. But you'll also notice that there's shadow on this side because there's no light coming in from this side. All we're getting is a reflection. This is overhead lighting. Now, the overhead lighting that I have isn't directly overhead, which is what you want to avoid. If you had it directly overhead, what's going to happen is you will start to get shadows because usually your brow, your hair, whatever it is creating the shadow, and you'll get these dark spots underneath your eyes. And it's great if that's something that you want to go for as far as creative, but typically you're not going to use that. You also won't use them because depending on what kind of camera you're using, they may flicker when you record, and they may also be a different color temperature, which will be harder and may throw your skin tone off or your other camera, your auto white balance, if you're using that on your camera. Now here's a single light source. This is one of my smaller lights. It's a tiny LED panel, about a 12 by 24 panel. And this one here is going to be just off to the side of the camera, and it's going to be roughly about a 30 degrees difference. So typically I think you could run it at a 45, whatever you want. I like it for this angle because it tends to give me a little bit more feel on this side versus being darker. So if I grab it and I move it over, you're going to notice that this side will start to get more of the light, and this side will tend to get a little bit darker, especially this section right here. Okay, so now what we have is this part lit, and you'll see the shadow that my nose is cast right over here. A little bit darker on this side. Okay, so now I have a two light setup. The same one, small LED panel to my right, and then a little bit larger LED with a very, very large diffuser on it to my left, and you can kind of see how much more even it looks. And both of these lights I can reach out and touch. So just give you an idea on how close the diffuser is to me. And then the camera I can pretty much reach out and touch as well. And that's going to give you an idea as far as how close I am. And that will vary for you depending on what type of lens you have or whatever the focal length is of the camera. So if you're using an iPhone, you have a few different settings, a few different cameras that will give you a bigger frame. So if you're doing something that's a little bit wider, you may be able to see more of maybe the top of my head and everything around it. So just keep that in mind. And these are all kind of, there are rules to it, but for the most part, it's going to be whatever works best for what you're trying to convey in your video. Some people like the darker side, the moodier side, where if we were to do that and take off one side, you can see how much darker and a little bit more. It creates a different type of mood, different type of aesthetic. So it's really going to come down to kind of what you want, maybe what your industry needs, or I don't know. I'd say play around with it, but for the most part, you're going to find something that works best for you. And what you want to do is kind of have it set up so you can always repeat it. But things to keep in mind is going to have, you want the biggest light possible, and you want it to be as close as possible for you. Okay, so I hope my hair wasn't too distracting for you, and if you learned something, let me know, or if you would love for me to expand further on one of the concepts in the video, let me know.